Everybody's hating white people. That's because the elitists, which have been in every nationality and every race, have always been hated. Say the first race, well, I don't know, whoever built up like the first city or the first large village or complex, and the elitists took over, possibly made slaves, had oppression, had all the stuff that they have nowadays, only it was like not written about. It was like the first people that were oppressed, of course, whatever, or however it was. And they were of a different race, different nationality, all the other stuff. Anyway, it moved up through all the races, and right now it's at the white race. That's where the elitists are basically at the white race. But I see it. I think it's going to move on. I think it's almost like a hot potato with the elitists, and they just allow some other race to take over, so they don't have to be burdened by, thousands of years of people that somehow move together as a unit to hate whoever it is that's in charge, or whoever it is that's built up, and it's not necessarily left them behind, I guess, unless you call going back through all the races and all the civilizations left behind. But I mean, every race has had slaves, every race has had oppression, every race has had elitists, people that are richer and everything else. And now it's just, the whole thing is just, right now it's being looked at that the white race is apparently the oppressor. Although they've, it's been, looking back through history, they say, well, we don't want to be, they look at themselves and they say, well, we got to change history. And so they go out and they try to make it better, but they're still elitists that are going to separate themselves. They don't want to be a part. They want, this, that, or the other, or they're just trying to make it, whatever it is, whatever oppressive movement, racist divide, class, manipulation, whatever it is. And it's happened through freaking history. It's happened through prehistory. Probably cavemen were doing it, Probably, that's probably where government started. I've already explained. Anyway. So, right, I guess we just got to deal with it, sit back and, wait for maybe, I don't know, China they're trying to be the top dog, and they think, well, we know how to rule out oppression. It's apparently they think by communism it rules out oppression. But, when you get too many people, too many civilians that you're oppressing, that is a larger and more covers a vaster area than your military can control, then you'll have what you see, or you'll have what you're gonna see or have seen. Because China's been through how many every 1,000 years they go through a manipulative government that gets overthrown. I mean, how many dynasties did they have that were overthrown because, well, you're doing this to it's, so I think it's heading back to them. Could be. Russia looks like they're keeping their head down. Japan is trying to build up as, I don't know. There might be, I don't, all I see is, I haven't lived in any of these other countries and been able to communicate, with them or anything like that. You get it on TV and you try to make I don't even think unless you're part of that society and have grown up in it, even if you've grown up in it, you might be isolated from knowing anything about it. Because, I mean, look at here in America, you say, well, I know what is happening to me, me and mine, or I know what's happening to me, and I'm going to claim that everybody around me is having the same. And then they try to get at our group, they can't get it, and then they're depressed because nobody around them feels like they do. So they get on the internet and they find other groups, and that's where they band together as these groups of either good, bad, or indifferent, whatever. But I think that's where we're at right now. Is just everybody's saying, "Oh, the whites," even though all these countries are coming here to the U.S. and basically Europe. I don't see a whole lot of people moving to China. I don't see a whole lot of people moving to Africa, even though you can say, well, the British government took over, went to Africa. Well, yeah, but that's the government. This is, you got a difference. There's a difference between migration of citizenry and a migration, it's not really, and a takeover of a government. I mean, it's not the same thing. You can't say that the citizens are blamed for the takeover of government. If a government moves in, or, if government moves into an area, and then the military follows, and they have a spouse, and they have, over time they breed, and then their kids are there for, they're 100 years, they're 150 years, 200 years, whatever. Compared to what we have in the U.S., where everybody's coming here to get away from these other oppressive governments, then they come here and start bitching about here. There is no utopia. There's not going to be a utopia. As long as you have money, as long as you have power, as long as you have position, as long as you have all these different things, as long as you have if you have a different opinion, as long as you have a different opinion, you're going to have all these divides. You're going to have oppression. Because the difference of opinion is going to be oppression. That's whether they're going to try to that's where they try to brainwash you into, well, you don't want that, you take this approach, take that approach, and then you'll get tugged back to another group that says, no, you don't have to follow them, you follow us, and we're going against them. And that's all it is. It's just one big giant, everybody wants control of you. And so, if you just let all the negative people go and just live your own life, of course, even rich people have people. Look at Trump. Look at how many people blocking him. I mean, that was like complete. It was like a wall. It was like he wanted a wall, he got a wall, and it stopped him in his tracks. The wall he got wasn't the wall he wanted, but now he's not the president, and the wall that he got was the Democratic Party and all the liberals and stuff that built a wall against him doing anything. Even if it would have been helpful, he's supposed to do the infrastructure. None of these politicians, because the opposing party is always your obstruction. And so basically, all these parties are causing the problems within the U.S. If there was, we voted for, each person ran individually, and we voted for that individual and what they, their goals, and they couldn't veer from them goals. Otherwise, if we had real control, and we could say, okay, this guy he's just going with the elitists, and they're trying to brainwash you into believing that and they'll have, there's this conflict over here. We need to put boots on the ground over here, and it's just that, they start out here telling everybody, this is what you all want and need, and then when they get up there, they're way sky high, and it's like, they're listening to you, and then once they get up there, they're not listening to you anymore because they're not politicking. It's just when they come back down to politicking, they're hearing the people, and they say, oh yeah, okay, we can do this, and then they get back into power, and all they hear is the power people, and so they start dealing with power people. They're just they're weak, they if they're going to have to pick a class, what class are they going to, or what level of civility or what level of morality, they're going to have to sit there. They're going to have to say, oh, wait a second. These power people are trying to take control of me. I got to get back out with the people and listen to what they're saying. Instead of just speaking out, they have to take in, but the problem, that's another problem, is you go to a city, that city has a problem. That city should handle that problem. Everything shouldn't be a federal freaking matter. Everything shouldn't be, even a state. It shouldn't be a lot of things that are local in different cities or towns or rural area shouldn't have to be a state level matter. It should be that area. And if you can't cover in that area, then the people in that area shouldn't be in an elected position. If they can't problem solve in that area, then they're not doing their job. They politicked with the people on that level, and they got up the power, and they were easily persuaded by all the power people and the elitists, and that maybe in that, and you got some rich whatever farmers or manufacturers or whatever in an area, and they run all the words. Well, they don't run all the words, but I mean, once you get into power, that's all you hear is talk from them, or people like them or people for them. They like put people toward, where the people down here are always trying to manipulate. Say you got a neighborhood problem. Well, that neighborhood problem, there should be some sort of local level you can handle it. You shouldn't have to say, well, I'm going to abandon this area and take my small, minute problem to the state, where the state has to stop what they're doing. Let's say it's an infrastructure rebuilding, doing something for the whole state. Because that's how this country should be. If you federal government, that's countrywide. It shouldn't be, well, we're going to this state and do it. I can see aid in a state, but I can also see preventive measures and everything else. The thing is, these people, they take on jobs they're really not made for. I mean, they're made for popularity. Basically, that's all politicians are, made for popularity, made to grab votes, made to make a bunch of money for their party, and that's why you get them they're so easily persuaded by elitists, because elitists want money and they want power, and that's what these populists do. They bring it in, but then they get down to this level of citizenry, common citizens, and the citizenry feels like, we might get something from this. You're not going to get anything from Paul. You're going to get a bunch of words to get a vote, and that's all it is. And people it's the whole time. It makes no sense to me why people think that a politician is actually going to do something for their individual or their small group, unless that politician is going to write a bill for that small group because we need this countrywide, whatever it is. I'm not even going to get into a subject, but they got so many laws on the books. There's too many laws. There's too many people not doing a job. It's a fractured. It is. It's like each politician is like a plate of glass, and when you start throwing problems at that glass, it breaks here, it breaks here, and breaks here, and they have all these different cracks in their. Their popularity starts to go down. So first of all, they go around and trying to fix their popularity. They're going to say they're going to do this for a problem, but I've never heard any politician actually have an answer. They say, yeah, we're going to do this, or we're going to fix that, but you don't ever hear them say, okay, what we need to do is, say a flood area, that's the only time you're going to hear something. I mean, most of the time you're going to get the Corps of Engineers or some other development type of answer that after a while it's going to cost you a raise in taxes for this and that. And anyway, so I'm just getting off subject.